The hunt begins on the island of Newfoundland in eastern Canada. Preparations are under the command of 59-year-old Ed Keane on this fishing cutter. A tough seal from the old breed that doesn't waver.
Walt, you gotta pass me up the rifle.
Usually, they reserve the shooting only to protect themselves from wild bears. But Ed is chasing something else.
We're harvesting icebergs. Hopefully, the ice gods will give us the piece of ice that we're looking for.
The captain even has his own soundtrack for his search.
Last project for today.
Hippie music and weapons on board, that alone is strange enough. But they're also the world's first iceberg hunters. Ed has been searching for the white giants for 20 years, but only during summer. The rest of the year it's too stormy and cold. But doing it under the sun also has its problems.
The icebergs are fallen leaves. Like when the iceberg is melting, it's going into the salt water, which is really not helping the salt water, and it's going to be gone.
Today, of all days, is the hottest of the year at 30 degrees. Time is running. The crew has a hunting season of only 3 months in total. Ed gets help from the International Ice Patrol in order to increase their chances of success.
They'll give us a report every week how many icebergs there are and where they're to. But most people try to stay away from icebergs, and we're out looking for them.
To date, no ship has been able to survive colliding with an iceberg. But where others change course, Ed keeps heading straight.
There's a fairly big one down off Cape Bonavista. I was down there a few days ago. Here he comes, he's still pretty big yet. Oh, here's a good filming, look.
At first, a white speck on the horizon. But the closer we get, the greater it looks. Around 60 feet wide and at least twice as high. Estimated weight, tens of thousands of tons.
All ice hunters. Yeah, we got a piece of ice in the water there.
Yeah, a piece. It rises 120 feet above the water, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, literally. There's more underwater. But why is Ed so keen on this white giant? The reason is, Ed makes his own bottled water from the icebergs. He also sells the ice products to major beer and vodka producers. He makes over $600,000 from melted ice each year. That's some special ice.
Well, I've been involved with the fishery, and we had to get ice to ice our fish, iceberg ice, and we got it checked. And all the readings were really low on all the minerals, and actually most of it was 000, which really proved that the iceberg water is a pure form of water.
That's true, and there is a reason for this. Icebergs come from glaciers that formed around 20,000 years ago by frozen precipitation on the Arctic Circle. At that time, there were no man-made chemicals that could pollute. That's why iceberg water is one of the last clean raw materials on Earth. But hunting is not without danger. We only see around 10% of the actual size of the iceberg above water. If it tips over, the enormous lower end would shoot up and destroy the hull. Too big of a risk for Ed.
No, we wouldn't harvest, there's no way, impossible. What we're gonna do, we're gonna try this chunk over here.
A smaller piece to warm up, so to speak. Crew member Dennis and his 72-year-old colleague Walt take a closer look at it. The two were also fishermen before. It remembers the old saying, the bigger the fish, the better. Only here, it's different.
First thing we gotta do, he's a little too big, so we gotta make it a little small. A little small.
Oh boy! Oh man, that's a chunker!
What?
I said, he's a fine chunk, that piece! Could you take another?
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to take a little more of it.
But not too much. The smaller the piece, the faster it melts and disappears forever.
No, you got it. Well, that's not what I wanted to do, but that'll work. Whoa!
The chunk isn't as big as the boss would have hoped. Regardless, everything the crew gets should be brought on board. The fresh catch goes straight to the fishing cutter. Ed uses the ship's crane to transport the net and loot on board. From here, it goes directly into a hatch below deck. The several chunks of ice keep each other cool, a freezer of sorts, which also implies that Ed wants a lot of ice.
Okay!
There is definitely still enough to work with. But why do they do this in Newfoundland? Icebergs originate thousands of miles further north, in Greenland. Huge pieces break off from the glaciers. They float down the same route, the so-called Iceberg Alley, until they reach the coast of Newfoundland, a journey that takes up to 5 years. Ed's schedule is tighter. That's why he sends his boys out again.
Be careful over there now, boys!
Dennis and Walt discover a huge ice floe, far too big for the boat. How do they plan in making this work?
That's why I'm circling it. Try to get the waves to see if it can knock a piece off.
They drive in circles for more than 10 minutes. We can hardly imagine that this alone could destroy the massive ice. But when we least expected it, the tactics work. Not surprising considering the 20 years of experience. Dennis and Walt now want to try with a bigger piece. 3 tons of ice, twice the weight of the previous one, hanging from an old, used fishing net. Ed is visibly nervous.
Oh man! Oh mama! Hey! Oh! Good job! Yeah, well, we're gonna go for another piece. Can we get another piece like that?
Of course, a real iceberg hunter can't get enough. It's no wonder they're up for it. Ed and the crew have to collect the harvest for a whole year in just 3 months. A race against time and when things have to move really fast. Many methods, one result. At the end of the first day, Ed and his crew pulled around 20 tons of ice on board. But what happens to it now? The next morning, Ed leads us to his personal treasure in an old warehouse. It's hard to imagine at first glance. Ed's stored molten iceberg water is worth almost $500,000.
We're going to store these now for later on production. We've got the barge full, approximately 1 million liters.
At the end of the season, however, there should be around 350,000 gallons. So Ed needs a lot more icebergs. That's why he's brave enough to go after the bigger chunks with an even more unusual method.
I guess we'll put a couple bullets in this guy. See how tough he really is.
So that's what the rifle is for, a true hunter.
That's right, he's crippling down here on the lower nook there. Whoa, did you get that?
Get that?
Oh boy, holy fuck.
Only crippled.
Oh boy, he's talking back.
Oh, he's ready to come. He's ready to go.
He should be melted square.
Oh, he's coming now.
Oh, he's coming. He's getting ready to go.
Look, there you
We got it. We got to get out of here. We got to get out of here.
You got to out. He's going now.
The ice is extremely unstable due to the summer heat. One shot and the mountain might give in.
We got it. We got to get out of here. We got to get out of here.
If the iceberg tips, it becomes a life-threatening problem. The crew is looking for open space. It was only 2 hours later that Ed dared to approach the Colossus again. In the meantime, a huge ice floe the size half of a soccer field has broken off. The iceberg still stands to Ed's surprise.
And this iceberg is getting ready to die, but still he's a formal piece of ice yet.
Ed wants to take a closer look at how weary his opponent is, and now gets on board himself. He has never seen such a stubborn chunk of ice. We do notice that despite years of hunting, Ed has never lost one thing: respect.
Man, oh man, oh man, oh man. Cool.
True, but the lower body threatens to capsize. The movement caused the iceberg to crack so severely that this expedition was life-threatening. And there are no chunks left for Ed here anyway.
We might come back in the boat now and get one of these chunks here.
A kind of ice crump trail leads Ed to the object of desire, the detached ice floe.
We're gonna get up on that piece of ice. Go up for a look.
A walk on an ice floe? It sounds crazy, but it has a reason to it. Ed wants to find out how stable it is and whether he can still collect ice today. The heat could melt it to a point where Ed wouldn't be able to stand on it.
Seriously, how dangerous is it?
Very dangerous. He's still pretty cold. Dennis, I think that net is not big enough. Yeah, well, this is a nice piece of ice. It's ideal for grappling with the barge and the grappler because he's stable.
It's expected to be ready by the middle of the season. Ed has to wait for the floe to break on its own. He passes the time with an iceberg water beer.
Skull.
We don't know how long he's stayed for on the ice, but he's most surely been able to conquer this one as well. Ed wants to go hunting for many more years. The hunt for the purest water in the world.